Well, hi everyone. I'm Kayla. It's great to have you all here. I am an optimizer here at Vine Skills. And just to give you a little bit of background on me, I have worked at a personal injury law firm in the past for almost a decade. I was a personal injury paralegal, moved into training and then into operations. So when we went ahead and launched our Filevine at that firm, I was one of the people who helped to create our Filevine, and that made me fall in love with Filevine. And now I get to help law firms all over the country do the same thing. So it's really wonderful to be here with you all today. So, what we're going to be covering is we're going to be covering some reporting features today. So, we're going to cover how to access the report builder, how to build a report. We're going to talk about also how to, add columns, add criteria, export a report, and then we're going to wrap up by talking about Filevine's new reporting features that they just rolled out in the last couple of weeks. So I'm not sure how many people have seen those. Jasmine's going to be moderating the chat the whole time. So if you have a question, feel free to chime in. And I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen so we can get started here. All right, so today I'm in Filevine. I'm in my Gandalf the Great project, and I realize, hey, we have a new legal assistant here, Pippin, who I haven't, spoken with before. They just started at my firm, and I want to know all the cases that Pippin is on. So, how would I do that? I would need to run a report, and you can report off basically almost any field in Filevine. I won't say every single one, but almost any field in Filevine. So here I'm going to be using this legal assistant field today. That's going to be the main criteria for my report. And I'm going to be running that out of the section case summary here. So the way that you jump in and start building a report is to go over to the 3-line menu and go into the report builder. From there, something that you always want to do is you want to go down to the bottom here and you want to make sure that you select your org if you're in more than one org, like I am, because that's going to affect the different types of reports that you can build, as well as what the project type is. So we have a lot of project types here because we have lots of test cases. So bear with me as I find our project type. We want Jasmine, tell me if I'm missing it, but we want sandbox of ideas. I found it. There it is. All right. So once you find your project type, then you're going to get this kind of expanded list of what we call base reports. So they're reports that you can start off with. It's going to give you starter columns. Some of them are going to align with, different sections. So for instance, like list of depositions or something that might be familiar to you is like list of medicals. Those are going to focus on a specific collection section. And the collection sections are the ones where you do the add box field add items field, and you can add multiple items. And then the kind of reports that are higher up on the list are going to be your Filevine wide reports, like list of projects or an audit report or list of contacts. Those are going to cover like your whole org. Over here on the other side under my reports, these are reports that I've created. So reports that you've created, edited, and saved. You can always, move them up on your list by starring or favoriting those reports. You can also archive reports that you don't want to see before, and you can also export a saved report right from this screen. But today, we still want to find our, report on the list of files that Pippin is on. So we're going to go into list of projects. That's going to be our base report. And once you get into list of projects, you're going to want to do the same thing here and go down to the bottom right away and make sure you're in the correct organization. So I want to be in my sandbox. And then that is also going to allow me to go ahead and choose the project type again. Luckily for me, it's at the top this time, so I don't have to scroll and scroll. And as we move forward here, we want to make sure that we're getting all of the correct report columns. That's our goal, right? To make sure that we get all the information that we want. So you do have this quick select here where you can start typing in a field name if you know the name of the field. And then you also have a category selector where you can click into this drop down and you can actually choose to only see specific fields from a specific section. So these are all of my sections that I could click into and see just those specific fields. The field that I'm looking for today is going to be in the case summary section. So that is the section here that I need to locate. Or your other option is to always go here and just type it in quick select. I know the name, so I'm going to go with typing it in. So I'm looking for legal assistant.
And if
And
you
then I want their,
Sorry, I
go
was
ahead.
just gonna say, if you don't know the name, Kayla has a second tab open with the project open. So you could always look
Mhm.
there and copy and paste if you want to make sure that it's exact, because it does need to be exact when you do the quick select. So if it has colons or any other characters in it, those need to be included in that quick select.
Right, correct. So I know that it's legal assistant full name. So that is what I typed in. And then from here, you can see what section that field is in. So you can see I'm getting multiple different legal assistant fields. These ones are under team, but the one that I'm looking for is this one right here under case summary. So that's the criteria that I'm going to add in. Also, if you don't see a specific field you're looking for, so like for the legal assistant full name, technically this lives in a contact card. So you would open it and you would see it in the contact card. So that kind of counts as related data columns. So if you don't have this right here, display related data columns toggled on, that might be why you're not finding a specific report criteria. Also, if it's a field that's been obsoleted, so it's showing up in your Filevine grayed out with the line through it, you can still search for those fields, but you need to make sure that you're toggling on this one here, which is display obsolete columns. So those are just some additional options that if you're stuck and you're like, I can't find this field, make sure those are toggled on. It might be, in one of those two categories. So your report columns, you can reorder these as you would like. So maybe you want to make sure that the client name is first. I don't want the org name. That's not very important to me. So I just got rid of it by clicking the arrow here. And then, you've got your phase, first primary project type, and I'm going to move my legal assistant up because that's really what I'm looking to find out today. So your next step is going to be to go over to choose criteria. And when you go over to choose criteria, from there, that's where you're able to narrow down this report, right? Because we might have 10 legal assistants at our firm, and I want to just find the projects with Pippin on it. So the same thing is going to happen here. You could go down through all of these different categories and you can expand them and you can search for what you're looking for, or you can start filtering the criteria down here. And you can go ahead again and type in what you're looking for, and the report builder should go ahead and bring it up for you. So for me, I'm looking for that legal assistant's full name. I typed that in. Here's my criteria, and I'm going to click add, and it's going to move it over for me. And once I do that, it's going to give me kind of options to fill in. And depending on what type of different criteria you're using, you're going to get different options here. So, like if it was a date criteria, you might get how many days before a specific date or something like that. But for us, we're looking for the name. So, our criteria is coming up as case summary, legal assistance, full name. And I'm just going to do contains, and I'm going to type in Pippin. So I don't have to type in his full name, or if there was like a misspelling somewhere in the last name or something, I'm just going to do contains Pippin. And then from there, I can go ahead and run my report. I've been clicking through the screens up here, but there's also always an arrow down at the bottom that will take you to the next step. So we're going to run the report. My Filevine's been a little bit slow today, so let's see. Here at Vine Skills, as I mentioned before, we have many projects and many different templates that we work in. So mine's probably going to be a little bit slower than your report builder will be, just because you're only going to be in one org, not working across multiple orgs with multiple templates. So we will let that work, but I believe, here we go. I already actually ran this report a little bit earlier today, just in case that was going to take a little bit of time. But essentially, what's going to happen is you are going to get your report here. And when this report runs, you can see our legal assistant, Pippin, is on all of these files. And here are the names of the different files. From here, I could go ahead and click on the client or project's name. And then from there, if I go into case summary, I can confirm here that Pippin is in fact the legal assistant. So this is just a really handy report for, getting all of the projects together or project lists together for paralegals, for attorneys, for support staff, so they know what projects they're assigned to and so that they can keep track of those projects easily. So now let's talk a little bit about saving and exporting reports. So if you ran your report and you went over to save and export, the first thing you would do is want to save your report. You want to make sure that you don't lose your work. And if, for instance, you were kind of editing this report or you made a change in the report, you also always have the option to save as, which is, similar to a Word document when you do save as, and then you can save another version. Same thing or same principle with reporting. You also have the ability to export your report to both Excel and Word. You also have the option of doing a CSV report if you were like uploading into another system. You can see here it just notified me my report saved, which is good. So if you were like uploading to another case management system or some type of other software, if it was like a, marketing list of contact report and you were putting it in like MailChimp or something like that, you could definitely do that as well. And then from there, you can also do your auto report settings. So if this was like an SOL report and you needed to see that report every month to make sure that you had all the correct SOLs in for your cases, you could go into the auto report settings. You could choose to have this report sent to you weekly, monthly, or yearly, and it's always going to go to the email address that your Filevine account was set up with. So I'm just going to choose weekly to give you guys an example. It should default to your correct time zone. And then you can choose, you could have it come on Monday and Friday. You could have it come on just Friday. You can choose morning or evening. And then you can go ahead and click save, and you will get that report sent to your email at the times that you chose. You can also share the report. So you can share the report out with various members of your team so that they can also view it. If it was something where like a paralegal manager created it to supervise other paralegals, she could share that report out to the paralegals so that they were all on the same page. You can also share a report with your entire org if it's something that everybody needs to see, like an updated list of new cases in the firm that came in that month or something along those lines. Something important to remember is currently right now in Filevine, essentially, if you created this report, you're going to be the person that can edit it and reshare it out. If someone else wants to edit that report that you've shared it with, they're going to have to save as and save a different version. So no one can ever edit or, save over your current version of the report that you've shared with. It is your report and they would need to save as. And then you always have the option to archive the report from this screen. So outside of that, something else that I wanted to share with you all, let's see if our other report ran here, it did, is that Fileline has come out with multiple new features over the last couple weeks in reporting. So these are things that couldn't be done before that can be done now. So you can actually move back and forth the size of the columns here. So if you have like a super long name or something, you can drag all of these columns to be wider or smaller. Another thing that you can do is you can actually copy report results now right from this screen. So you can actually click and highlight. So I'm holding my mouse down to highlight all of these columns. And then if I do a right click, I can copy with headers, or I can actually export just those individual columns or that individual data out to a CSV or an Excel, which is really cool because sometimes you don't need every line on a report. Sometimes maybe you only want 2 or 3 lines that you need to share with someone quick in an email or something like that. And you're able to do that very quickly and easily now. Anything that you copy, you can copy it into, Word, you can copy it into an email, however you would like to copy that information over. And then the other feature that they released is grouping. So, you know, previously, you could only see the reports in one line. Now you can actually group them. So, for instance, I could choose to group by phase, and my report will reload, and it will actually put the project lines or the line for each project into a group for that phase, which is really great when you're trying to figure out things like, how many cases someone has in a certain phase. If you're looking at a paralegal's report and you're going, how many demands do they need to write, in the next month? It gives you a great starting point just to see that information and be able to review that with your team members. So as this is loading this example here, one thing that I did want to share with you all is that there is a Filevine help article just listing all of those new features that we can drop in the chat here. If you'd like to check that out at a later time. All right, here we go. So it did come up, it did group our report by phase. So what I can do is I can go ahead and click the down arrow here, and it will now give me all of the projects or case files in phase file setup. Same thing here with leads, settlement, and treatment. So that's just a really great new feature that Filevine released that will help kind of organization for your team members, your firm overall. And then also just wanted to share with you all too that Filevine University does have specific different courses regarding reporting if you wanted to drill into that a little bit further. And if you have any other questions, feel free to jump in with your Vine Skills Optimizer about, custom reports or specific criteria, all of those really fun things. I'm not sure, did we have any other questions in the chat? If you guys have questions, please feel free to drop them in.
No questions have come in just yet, but did want to kind of touch on this list of projects is probably going to be one of your most popular reports. It has the widest range of criteria, but when you go to set up the columns, you'll notice that all of the collection sections are very general. They are things that you can pull into like your vitals, basically, earliest, highest, lowest, average, nothing specific. You'll also notice that all of the deadline chains that we have added in are options here as well. If you want data specific to a collection section, you do have to run a collection section report. Looks very similar to the list of projects report, but it allows you to pull data specific from any given collection section. So the best way I think that we kind of tell folks to learn Report Builder is to like get your hands dirty and actually use it. That's kind of the best way to learn what the criteria is, what capabilities that the Report Builder has, what works best for you as far as actually getting your data out. And the nice feature that Kayla showed of being able to have an email to yourself, have the system do some of the work for you, so that you can kind of get the data that you need easy at the tip of your fingers, without having to do too much work consistently.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say if you're getting started, for the first time in Report Builder, you're a new firm to Filevine, one of the best things to do is think about your KPIs, like things that you want to make sure that you're tracking for every team member. So sometimes it's going to be, number of cases in a certain phase. Sometimes it's going to be, more financial settlement amounts per attorney or per paralegal. Like those are great reports to start out with if you're a firm just getting into Filevine to help you stay organized and make sure you get the broad picture of Filevine. Another report that I know a lot of firms like to use is like the audit report just to see how much sections are being used, you know. Maybe you put in a brand new section and you're like, is this even really relevant to my team? You can see, are people actually using this section and, you know, clicking in and out of it, things like that. So there's just so much you can do in Report Builder. And I recommend, you know, sitting down, coming up with a firm list of like key reports that you want to see and just giving it a try, give it a go. You never know what you can find.
Outside of like just being able to run reports here, there's also for the admins that are on the call, there's some additional areas that you can use these reports. So in the advanced tab, you can use them in a few different areas again to make it so that the system is doing a little bit of work for you. Auto tags is one of the first ones that you'll see on that list. It's alphabetical. That is where you can ask the system or tell the system, hey, based off of the criteria in this report, add a tag. Ours are inactive right now, but you can always reactivate them. It might be that somebody like archived the report or something along those lines, but this is a way for the system to kind of constantly run those reports and add tags based off of the criteria that you've used. So for instance, the missing SOL, we ran a list of projects report. We added in the criteria for missing an SOL due date so that we can have an auto tag populate for all of the projects that don't have a statute of limitations. So we have somewhat of a working list for things that we need to kind of make sure that we actually get to and do. You'll notice that all of our reports, you can kind of see the name of the report right there. We recommend and do our best to name the reports as specific as possible. So if you are adding criteria in, add that to the name of your report. If you're utilizing it here in the advanced tab, add that to the name of the report. That way you have a good idea of where you're adding this data into, so that if you make any changes or alterations to that report, you know the other areas that will be impacted by that kind of change and shift. It's going to help you all in the long run, even if you're not using it here in the back end. If you've just added criteria, make sure that you're adding that to kind of the title. If you don't, you'll just have a ton of reports that say list of projects, then that's not really going to be helpful to you. Um, Outside of the auto tags, you can also use them in customs editor. So when you run a list of collection section, essentially, so those medicals that Kayla was talking about, discovery, anything kind of along those lines, you have the option to do collection section exports, which will essentially take all of the collection items for any given client and add those to an Excel or Word document, whatever kind of template that you all put into that report. This is a nice way, again, to extract data fairly easily without having to see a whole bunch of other clients in there. When you run a list of reports, so any of those collection sections, it is going to pull in, unless you add criteria, but it's going to pull in all of your clients and all of their collection items. So if I was a client and I had 10 medical providers that I'm seeing, all 10 of mine would populate. And then if Kayla's another client and she had 5, all 5 of hers would populate in that same report. So adding it,
Mhm.
yeah. Um, Thank you. So yeah,
Yeah.
all of these different cards, these will populate. We do have a collection section export in this section. You can tell because there's, yep, that little Excel button right there. So if you click that, it's going to pull all of these medical items into that export. Kayla, I'm sure has gone in and created this template to make it look how she wants. If you're like, I don't care, I just want to extract the data, that's totally fine too. But you do have the option to change the way that that template looks. So if you're like, I want our logo and letterhead to show up on top of it, and I want graphs and any Excel thing that you can do, you can add to that template and extract that data. If you are going to go that route, make sure that if you want other people to be able to export that, that you share the report with them. If you don't share the report that's connected to that, other members won't be able to run or pull this Excel export from any given section. And then you'll have,
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say the couple of other items kind of here in Customs Editor, if you are an admin and you'd like to use reporting, is going to be the mass updates. So you've got a couple of different types of mass updates that you can run. So if we go into mass update here, it's always going to make me choose the org because I'm in more than one. You can choose multiple mass update options, right? So you could like add a note across a specific number or specific type of projects. Like if you had, all clients in treatment phase and you wanted to add a note to every paralegal to make sure that they did something specific, you could do that here. You can change project phases. So if you realize you have a bunch of projects specific to a certain phase that should be in a different phase, you can update that phase. You can edit a field in a project section. So let's say I ran that report of all of Pippin's cases, and in case summary, he was the legal assistant, but I wanted to update the legal assistant to be someone else in that contact card field. I could do that as well. I can also add an item to a project section or even change a project contact. So those are all really helpful from like an admin level of managing the firm and being able to swap things in and out easily. And then also just staying on that same admin track here, you can mass update permissions on different files using reporting. So you can mass update teams. As everyone knows, we had the new teams update. So you can actually swap teams out if you want, attorney A and his two paralegals to swap out with attorney B and their two paralegals. You could do it at that level. You can also update specific permissions and roles. So you could create a report for a certain paralegal, or maybe you have a medical records request specialist or something like that. And you want to be able to move them from, collaborator to admin, or, from admin down to collaborator. You could do that. You can also subscribe and unsubscribe team members. If someone's like, hey, I'm getting a million notifications for files that I'm not even on anymore, that's a quick way to reduce notifications. You can also do things like change their role. So, maybe they are a case assistant and they got promoted to case manager, and you want to be able to change that role across all of the, different projects that they're on. Then that's also a great way to use reporting as well as with some of these mass update features. Were there any more that we missed, Jasmine?
I don't think so. I mean, report fusions, those are a whole different beast. We'll
Oh,
have
yeah.
a free help session on that. But I do want to point out that if you do mass permissions or mass updates, it's helpful if you download the report to your actual computer. So export that Excel.
Hmm.
Make sure that if you're doing a mass update, especially that whatever columns that you're looking to touch in that mass update, you have as columns in your report. That way, if something goes wrong and you all accidentally update with information that should not have been updated, you have stored on your computer, saved onto your computer, what the previous version was so that you can go back and edit. If you don't download a copy and you try to go back and rerun the report, it will have already updated with the new info that you've kind of put in as the mass update. So keep that in mind as you do these mass updates. They are very high risk functions. Once they're done, it is really difficult to undo them. So don't give out permissions wide for those especially. It looks like we do have a question. If we had an employee that we changed the email for, can we update that email address? Or we do that on the saved report, then we did that for the name in Filevine. I assume we can go into the saved report we did and update the email address.
Yeah, so email addresses are actually, it depends, where you're trying to update it. Are you trying to update it in their contact card, or else if you're trying to actually update it like for that employee's Filevine account? If you were looking to do it in their contact card, that's just a quick swap. You can go into anyone's contact card, click into here, and you can update the email address, email at mindskills.com, and that will update it across their contact card everywhere that that contact card is entered into the system. If you're looking to actually update their like Filevine email that they're using, then you would go into setup, or that user would. I should say that user would. You would want to walk your team member through this, but you would go into setup, Filevine settings, and then here is where they could, update their email address if they needed to, and that would be something that they would do within their user account. So you wouldn't need to use reporting for that most likely, unless there was something else I was missing in your question.
Maybe we would want to just walk through and show them a template in reporting. That way, if they do want to use some of those advanced features that we talked about, um, they kind of know. You could do one that you've already created if that's helpful. Um,
When you're saying a template, what are you looking for?
like when you export the Excel or Word template, whatever you would put in.
Ah, okay. No problem. So we're going to go back into our list of projects for Pippin. Hopefully my file bind loads for us. It really hasn't liked me today. It's always when you're live, it's like, hey, I'm going to be as slow as physically possible, but we still love it. We still love file bind. Oh, let's see. Okay, actually, we have this one back here that I can use that we already ran. So you would have ran your report, you would have come to save and export here. You would then be able to go ahead and export this, into Excel or Word, whichever format you would like. I'll do Excel for today. You would click on Excel and it'll say generating the export and it'll load. You'll get this loading circle. And then in a moment, we should get a link that we can click on, and when we click on that link, it will download and we should be able to go ahead and open the report in Excel. Like I said, as a reminder, ours just takes a little longer because we're in so many orgs, but yours should go much faster than this. All right,
And
so here we are.
this is going to be the default template. So whatever Filevine has, this is kind of what you're exporting. When you do it this way, you have the option to use Excel or Word, and you can kind of switch between the two. Once you actually create your own template, you're only going to be able to choose one. So keep that in mind. Looks like it flew to
Yep, I
you.
just have to reshare. I had it like on the
Oh,
one screen instead of my whole screen. There we go. So here is what it will look like for you. And you're going to get it almost the exact same way that you did in Report Builder. It's just going to be in columns. And you're going to get the org name, your phase, your first primary, your project type, the project name here with that link, and then the legal assistant full name so that we can see all that information. Something that I like to do when I'm in Excel is I always take this first row here and I will put on the filter. So I go to sort and filter and then click filter, because then that allows you to, be able to change ascending or descending order. You can eliminate certain criteria or certain names. Like if, this was a report that had 10 different legal assistants on it, I could choose to sort, by whichever legal assistant I actually wanted to see the information for. So I always tell people when you export to Excel, that's the first thing you should do is get your filter columns on there, because you're probably going to want to use it if you're looking at a lot of data. And then I did just want to jump back into Filevine really quickly here. So one other thing that we didn't mention yet is you don't always have to go to Report Builder. If you already created a report and it's saved, or someone created a report and shared it with you, you can go up to the 3-line menu here and you can go over to Saved Reports. And here's a list of all of your saved reports, and you can select them and view them right from this menu. You can also filter right from this menu too. So like I can pull up my Pippin report here and get that loaded up. Some other things that you can do right from this menu would include being able to do those exports, so you can see the 3 icons here for the CSV, Excel, and Word. And then you can also go into the report builder from there by clicking on the little gear icon. Oh, now it doesn't want to take me back. Give it a second there. uh Saved reports. Here we go. So you can always click on that little gear, and then you can calendar it out with the auto report settings to come right to you using this icon here. You can archive from here as well. And then you can also share the report from here as well. So you don't always have to go into Report Builder and go through kind of like the org selection and the template selection and all of those things, or, go through your report list. You can go to saved reports and you can run the report that you're looking for right from here.
If you want to create your own template, so like again, Kayla downloaded a version that was just basic in Filevine. If you are an Excel person and you're like, I want it to have this and this, and every time I download it or generate it from a section, I want it to do this, that is possible too. You would do that from the actual like report builder screen. If you do that, it'll look a little bit different in the saved reports. You won't have, again, that Excel and Word option. You're just going to have whichever version, either Excel or Word, that you chose to make your default template. Um, there are some really, really cool things you can do with those default templates. We have somebody on staff that like does advanced reporting and can make them look beautiful. He's done tons for us internally that we utilize, where you can say like, hey, I want to be able to see a list of all of my clients for the month. You can select the year, the month, your name, and it populates based off of the data in Filevine. So there's a lot of really great capabilities that you can do. If you are going to do it, and Kayla, I can take over sharing if you need.
Up to you.
Yeah, so you don't have to while I make it auditory, but you
Yeah.
can select whichever report, all of the reports that you run, you're going to be able to see. Again, we have quite a few. The only reports that you'll see are reports that you've run and saved or reports that have been shared with you in that select reports. Anytime that you're in Report Builder and you've like selected a report that you've already saved, let it run fully before you like move to any other tab. It will kick you back to run report. So just be patient. But right below where Kayla clicked previously, you have these export options. This is where you'll go to generate a default template. It's going to look very similar to what Kayla showed, except it's not going to have actual data in there. It's going to have mostly replacement codes as well as that header. So again, you can choose which type of template. I think most of us are more drawn to Excel because of all of the capabilities, the filtering, and all of that good stuff. But Word works just the same. There are instructions. I know that this is like a lot of data at you, maybe new stuff. So if you are like, okay, I need a step by step, step 2 will give you that depending on which type of template. But I'm just going to default generate this default template. Now, there are certain things that you can do within any given template to make it so that it only pulls for one client. If you're going to do that, you'll want to make sure that your template name is a reminder of that so that you're not thinking that you're going to get data across the board, but you know that you're only going to get it for a singular client, or that really you should just be generating this from a collection export. But you'll see kind of all of the individual fields for the columns that we've added into this. Now, again, certain things are going to repeat. This is a medicals report. So project name is going to repeat for however many providers are in that project. But what you'll notice here is there's a little red triangle. That's where it's telling the system, this is where I want my information to start repeating. And all the way over here is where I want my information to stop repeating. You can, again, use that filtering that Kayla talked about. You can use totals. So I know that this, I want totaled equal sum. So that when I generate this, this is going to create a sum for everything above this. Well, it looks like we have some more this way too. Great. And I maybe need a total over here as well. I can add in columns. I can use, whatever you kind of need to do. The only thing that you don't want to really mess with are the actual codes. If you accidentally delete a like squiggly or delete a number, or if you try to add in a code from another report, it will throw an error. So just keep all of that in mind as you kind of go through and try to create these templates. You can make changes to anything up here that you'd like. I like purple, so you can make that purple. You can just call this project or case or, whatever. You can, again, make any changes that you'd like to these titles, just not these. Once you save and upload the template here, the system will check to make sure that everything is good to go. It'll give you a green okay if it is. If it's not, it will kind of tell you things are not good to go. And you'll see I no longer have the option for Word here. It's just Excel. It tells me the current template that's up here. And back here, I don't see, again, that export for Word anymore. So when I click this export, it's going to utilize the template that I put into here, not the generic Filevine template anymore. So you will do have, again, that capability. If you are going to use a collection export, creating a template might be really beneficial so that things like project name, client name, incident date, incident type, if you choose to include those, are not repeated, 15 or 20 times. You can just kind of create them at the top. And then you would just add them into, I don't think we actually showed in Customs Editor where to go to add those in. So I'll show you briefly. And hopefully you guys don't have as many templates as we do, but you'll find whichever collection section it is. You'll scroll down to show collection options. And right here where it says collection export, you can add. Now this is only going to show you reports. So we don't have any reports run for this medical section. The report that I was running was for a different template. So keep that in mind. It does have to be for that particular template. Again, adding that to the title of your report might be super helpful if you do have a ton of different templates and maybe medical sections within all of them, signifying which template it's for may be helpful for you all in the long run. But that's essentially where you would go in any given collection section to add in whatever export that you've created. And also change those left and right main fields if you'd like. Any questions? I didn't see any come in. Kayla, I'm not sure if there's any last minute tips, tricks, or things that you wanted to kind of share around reporting.
Yeah, kind of last thing that I wanted to add is I'm not sure if anyone's been out to our YouTube channel, but if you go to our YouTube and you type reports in, and I've got the link, Jasmine. I was just pulling it up. If you go out to our YouTube channel and where the little spyglass is beneath kind of our logo and everything and type in report, you'll get a ton of different videos just on reporting. Some of them I've made, some of them other team members at Vine Skills have made, but it's great. They're 1 to 2 minute quick videos that can help you get started on your report or complete a report if you're stuck. And they're just great resources to have. Yep, right there at that little, yeah, you should be able to type in report right there or reports and a bunch of videos come up. There we go.
So we have, again, as Kayla mentioned, a ton of videos on our website and also on YouTube that you all can kind of peruse,
Mhm.
subscribe so that you kind of get updates on the new things that we put up. We do, as you can see, we put some up just a day ago. So we do keep a pretty consistent update here in YouTube. We also, for folks that are working directly with us, we upload an admin project, which is a library of training videos that our staff, like Kayla, has worked to put together. She is a Loom goddess, so she puts in tons of work, especially on new Filevine features. So if you are a new client or if you've been with us for a while and you're like, I think I need an update on that, feel free to request a new admin training video and we can get that uploaded. Again, that's just for folks that have worked with us. So if you haven't worked with us yet, feel free to send us an email so you can start working with us and get that awesome library. We also have, I always go this way, on our website, all of the updated kind of upcoming sessions for free help. As I mentioned, we record these sessions. Outside of the free help sessions, we have again a ton of videos that go over a variety of things. You'll see Kayla's face, as I mentioned a lot. She does a great job of making sure that our folks have access or at least knowledge of the new features that Filevine comes out with. These are up, so if anybody, is interested or you need a refresh, feel free to pop into our website and view that information as well. I added tons of other links in the chat. I put my email as well as Kayla's email. It's just our first name at vineskills.com. So that if you are interested in engaging in any of VineSkills services, we are here to kind of help. We as I mentioned, do launch services and optimization. Kayla is part of our optimization team. So she works to make sure that firms are utilizing Filevine in the best way possible. It's more of a proactive approach. So thinking, not just what's right in front of you, but further down the line too, to make sure that you all are utilizing Filevine in its most effective kind of state. Right. I don't see any other questions that have come through. Kayla, thank you so much for all of your knowledge and help on today's free help session. We hope that you all do work with us in the future or at least join another free help session. Thank you all so much. And again, Kayla, thanks.
Thank you. Bye bye.
A good one.